Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, everybody, I should say. How are we doing? Oh, come on, how are we doing? All right, then. Welcome to IMAX Cinema here in London for a very special event. My name is Matt Everitt. Thank you so much for coming along. So for 4 days, starting on January the 18th, the concert film you're about to see is going to be released in over 450 IMAX locations globally, and in a moment you're going to be treated to a preview. As IMAX Pathé Live, in partnership with Mercury Studios and Queen Films, present Queen Rock Montreal! That's more like it. There are many remarkable things about Queen, but one of the things that I keep coming back to is how almost every single stage of their career marks a new achievement or a new creative high. Because kind of the accepted rule is that big bands will have like a defining moment in their career, a kind of imperial phase. When they play their best shows, release their biggest hits, do their most memorable work. Maybe, just maybe, the very biggest of bands might have 2 imperial phases, but that's very, very rare. And then there's Queen. From the creative explosion of Queen 2 and Sheer Heart Attack, the breakthrough of Night at the Opera, the planet-straddling news of the world and the game, to the reinvention of the works, that Live Aid performance, the magic tour, and an incredible run of creative studio albums, Queen's whole career has been one constant imperial phase, and Queen Rock Montreal captures the band at the peak of one of those phases. In 1981, in the wake of the game, one of the moments that they were undoubtedly the biggest and best band in the world. Director Saul Swimmer's job was to film 2 shows at the 18,000 capacity Forum in Montreal on November the 24th and 25th in 1981, with the very best possible sound and visuals. And he did that, but he also captured Freddie Mercury, Brian May, Roger Taylor and John Deacon playing a jaw-dropping concert, showcasing some of their biggest songs to date and their remarkable skill and chemistry as performers. Now, that film has been digitally remastered for the first time ever. Okay, we're excited about digital remastering. Now that film has been digitally remastered for the first time ever into the image and sound quality of the IMAX experience, including 12-channel surround sound, crystal clear images, and IMAX's customised theatre geometry. Whatever that is, it sounds incredible and looks great. I know you're going to experience all this in a moment. There's more information about the global screenings at imax.com/Queen, and we'd like to thank IMAX, Pathé Live, Mercury Studios and Queen Films for making this particular screening possible. But we do have a surprise for you to make tonight even more special. To talk a bit about the film and the show that it documents, please welcome Sir Brian May!
I'm just saying before we start, this is not Oppenheimer. You won't be required to sit for 3 hours. Can I get a round of applause for I would thank you very much, Matt, for that great introduction. Thank you all for coming. It is quite an important moment for us, and it makes you cast your mind back to 1981. I want to kind of set the scene for you. I don't know if you remember 1981, some of you will.
Even dead about Brian.
But just in case you don't have it in mind, there was no internet. You have to think the world was such a different place. There was no digital TV, there's no digital anything really, certainly not in music or film, except people are talking about some strange new device which is going to be invented, which is going to replace our vinyl and tape that we love so much. It's going to be called a compact disc CD. And at the moment you're watching this concert, they don't exist. They won't exist until 1983, a couple of years later when the Game album will appear on the CD. 1981 was the period of the beginning of video games. You had like space invaders and asteroids, and they were being overtaken by the incredible new craze which was Pac-Man at the time. This is really state-of-the-art stuff in 1981. IMAX had been invented and it was out there, but it was kind of a minority thing. It was more for scientific films in museums, kind of a lower priority thing, I suppose. And the man who made this movie knew all about IMAX, and I think it's safe to say that he wanted to set himself up with his system as a kind of competitor to IMAX. So it's a little bit ironical that it's ended up here, but I think great. I'll tell you more about him in a minute. I'm too excited. It's enormous. This is the biggest IMAX screen in Britain. I think you should know that. And things look incredible on it, so I'm so happy that we're here. Yeah, in 1981 there were no mobile phones. Quite hard to imagine. There's no Google, no Amazon, no online ordering, no Instagram, no Twitter, no TikTok, no woke, no emails. Imagine, it was a very, very different place about 42 years ago. So, where was that young band called Queen? Well, we were on our 8th album, which was called The Game, and we toured it all around the world. And the world for us was England, as part of Europe. Was Europe. Don't get me started. And America, Japan, and previous to this performance, we just, I suppose you could say, broken South America. Nobody really had ever done that before. Nobody had taken trucks of gear down there, you know, jumbo jets full of gear, and played South America properly. We did Rio, we did Argentina, a few dates, to enormous football stadiums up to the size of about 250,000 people. And it was really a groundbreaking thing, something which we didn't even think we could pull off when we started. But it worked out really good. Because it worked out so well, we thought, okay, we'll do Caracas. Unfortunately, that didn't work out because the president died. It's a great story. And then we thought, we'll do Mexico. Now, Mexico was great, very much like South America, but really we'd bitten off too much. We'd bitten off more than we could chew, and it was a very difficult experience. Successful, great concerts, but really we barely got out of there alive. And I won't go into it, but it's all in a book, which is very hard to get now, called Gluttons for Punishment, written by Jerry Stickles, our tour manager at the time. So the Gluttons for Punishment tour ended, I've got a record here, in Puebla in Mexico on the 18th of October 1981. So we'd done a hell of a lot of touring by that time, and it was time to take a rest. Unfortunately, our manager, the illustrious Jim Beach, I spoke to him yesterday, and he sends his regards to everyone. He wishes he could be here. He's I suppose you could say he's semi-retired. He's handed over the reins to his wonderful daughter, Matilda, but he's always there. He speaks to her every day, so he's still overseeing our career. And he says hi and sends his love. Unfortunately, Jim Beach had done a deal in which we would play on the 24th and 25th of November. It's only a month later. We want to be resting, but here's this sort of agreement. And we're supposed to play in Montreal in Canada and go back out there. So that was quite hard for us. We're already kind of slightly grumpy about that. Because not just because physically we need a rest, but also because you have to re-gear up for that. You just finished a tour, you've got all your crew, you've got everything going really well, and suddenly they've all gone to different places, and for these 2 shows you have to bring everything back together. We had 17 large semi-trucks on the road. We had a crew of 51 people, and it was very hard to get it back together. And we had to re-rehearse. So it was, by the time everyone got there, everyone's a little bit kind of huffy and puffy, you know, like, why are we doing this? You know, when you do that, you say, I'll do that, and it's away, and then suddenly it's tomorrow, and you think, oh shit, why did I say I would do that? It's a bit like this with me, really, because I don't really like speaking in public. But I'm glad I'm here. You're very kind. Okay, Jim Beach had met a middle-aged Jewish man in New York about a year before who had a spectacular idea. The man was called Saul Swimmer. And he wanted to film Queen live and make a special kind of film. He wanted to film it with the latest technology in film as it was then, something called double anamorphic 35mm. And he wanted to project it on huge screens, which were mobile. It was a screen which was going to be put up outdoors somewhere to make these huge gigs where we weren't there, but people would still have a sort of Queen experience. And the whole thing would drive around this huge screen. You know, what could possibly go wrong? We'll see. So Saul Swimmer called his dream system Mobile Vision. And as I say, it was a kind of competitor to IMAX, I guess. So we got back out there, and the great thing was it was Montreal. Montreal is one of our favourite cities. It's a great audience there, very full of energy, amazing. We'd played this particular venue, the Forum, 3 times before, and it was always full of energy, full of really enthusiastic people giving us a lot of energy back. So that part of it was good. We knew once we got on stage it was going to be great. We played it 3 times before, I think it's safe to say, and the place sadly is no longer there. A lot of these great venues have got to now, so you're seeing that sort of relic here. So as soon as we got into rehearsals, things got worse, because Saul Swimmer's crew really hadn't ever done this before. They'd never filmed a live show, so they had no idea how much in the way they could possibly be, how disruptive they would be. They started putting cameras all over the stage, so we immediately go, this is never going to work. I mean, this is way before Live Aid, where we did have cameras on stage, but at this point we're very keen to keep our show as we know it and love it. So big argument about cameras on stage, which was never really resolved. And then a message came from exactly the same clothes for the 2 nights, so that we can cut between. So Freddie goes completely berserk and says, I'm not being constrained in my wardrobe. I will wear what the fuck I like. So it becomes a huge row, and Jim Beach, our illustrious manager, came in and tried to make peace and said, look, Freddie, you know, you could just do this with him. So Jim Beach got banned from backstage. Bless him. I do apologise to him for that now. But so it wasn't a good situation. You know, we're getting more and more grumpy, and you can see this in the film. I think you can see that this is not a regular show. We're very kind of hyped up. Some of the tempos are really fast, and there's a lot of kind of very incisive play, almost kind of angry play. You can see it in Freddie, I think. So what do you see in this film? You see 4 young guys. We've already been around the world a lot of times. We've sold a lot of records. We've had a lot of hits, and we're really at the top of our game. We know how to play with each other, and I feel watching this quite proud of how we were at that time. It was a kind of pinnacle. We're just about to put out an album called Hot Space, which actually didn't go down very well in a lot of places. I would still stand by it, but it was regarded as a lull by some people, and not corrected until we came back with the later hits after that. But we are at the top of our game. We've just had Crazy Little Thing, which is a hit all around the world. That's on the Game album. Save Me was on that album. And out of the box comes this little track called Another One Bites the Dust, which, against anyone's expectations, became enormous overnight when it was picked up by some radio stations in New York who thought we were black. It's a very strange story, and because of that, really Another One Bites the Dust broke into every kind of genre, and it became, and still is, our biggest hit ever in terms of sales, which is quite surprising, I think, if you think of Bohemian Rhapsody. No, Another One Bites the Dust is the biggest. So I'm telling you this because when you see this, you'll see we're playing off the hits. When you strike up those chords and people recognize them, it's hot, it's current, and as soon as we start, they know that's the hit that they've come to see. And there's a lot of them, which is great. So that's what you're looking at. I apologise for having notes, but I didn't want to miss anything out. The next thing I want to say is that you're looking at a very raw Queen. There's no one on that stage apart from us. I mean, these days we do take people out. We have supporting musicians. We have like Adam Lambert, you know, he's a supporting musician, isn't he? He's going to hate me so much. But, you know, there's no keyboard player, there's no percussion or whatever, there's no extra vocals. There's certainly no clicks, because we never actually. There's no backing tapes. We don't have backing tapes. So what you're looking at here is just the four guys. It's Roger, John, Freddie, and myself. No other buggers. Which is quite interesting, and it's strange to me to see how full it actually feels. You don't actually need the extra stuff. If there's piano needed, Freddie will play the piano, or I play the piano, as you'll see. And as soon as we get up from the piano, it's just back to bass, guitar, drums, and vocals. But it works, and it has so much flexibility. We were able to be very interactive with each other, and it's exciting to watch, I think. So we did the shows. I'm going to jump ahead. What happens then? Well, we have to look at Saul Swimmer's stroke of genius. This film, high quality, great. Big screen, outdoors, not so great, because it acts like a sail, so it doesn't stay stable, and I think it nearly fell over a couple of times. So it never really worked. And what happened was he did put it out, but he put it out into cinemas around the world, and it did okay. I think it ran for 8 years, apparently. And then Saul came to us and said, I want to make this into a Queen album. And we said, no, that's not in the contract. And Roger, I spoke to Roger last night. He sends his regards. Dear old Rog. We always get on, as you know. And he says he remembers sitting in the Polo Lounge in the Beverly Hills Hotel in Los Angeles with Jim Beach, with Saul Swimmer and his lawyer. And Saul is insisting that he has the rights to put out a Queen album based on this film. And he's told in no uncertain terms. I wasn't there, I don't know why, but Roger tells me, he was told basically that there was no way, and that's the way it was left. But later on, he managed to put out what in those days was a Betamax in the States and a VHS video cassette. I'm talking a language nobody knows now. So it came out on video, but this has been a thorn in our side. I'm telling you this because now you can see it all pristine and beautiful, the way it should be. But for most of our career, this was a thorn in our side. It was something that was never right. It was badly mixed, horrible dry sound, which sounded terrible, with no audience on it, so you didn't get the atmosphere. It was badly edited, badly put together. And the original syncing failed, so they synced some of it by eye, and every time they did an edit, the sync would move. So it really was always something that we were embarrassed about. And it took months and months of work, a lot of it by Chris, Chris Fredrickson here, please, a round of applause. What you're seeing tonight is basically his re-edit of the whole thing, where everything is brought back into sync. And I can't tell you, it's not minor details. There were parts in this where Freddie was singing and it was the wrong part of the song. I mean, it was that far out. Everything's out of sync and whatever, and Chris has brought it all in. It's all pristine and beautiful. It's all been beautifully mixed by Chris, Justin Shirley Smith, who I think is here. A round of applause. Josh McRae, who's Roger's right-hand man. Josh. And I should mention Simon Hill, who I think is also here today, who's representative of the film people, sound-wise. Can't tell you what a great job this is, a really wonderful job of rediscovering what it was actually like for us to do this gig. It now feels like you're there. It didn't up to this point. I have to say, big thank you to Saul Swimmer, really, though, because although his dream didn't work out as he expected, he did give us this opportunity. We could be here now looking at some sort of revamped TV transmission or piece of rough film or a rough early video, and it would have been bumped up so that it sort of fits on an IMAX screen. We're looking at something here which absolutely has all the definition that you need to be perfect on an IMAX screen. It's beautiful. So thanks to Saul Swimmer for that. Thank you for Jim Beach. Thank you to Jim Beach for being banged backstage and still sticking to his guns. Jim is great like that. He pushed it through. Little thing, which is a sort of personal aside, you'll notice that a lot of the time you don't see us in this film, you see Freddie. And I think at the time that was also a sort of like consternation for us, because we've always been a band or whatever. Now, looking at it, it's such a boon because now we don't have Freddie. things being what they are, it's wonderful to kind of watch the world through Freddie's eyes. You are so close to him. I can't think of any other record of our shows in which you are so intimately in contact with Freddie. I mean, his face is this big, as you'll see, and you can see everything that's going on in his head. You can see his anger, you can see his insecurity, you can see his consciousness that he can move people right to the back of the auditorium. And to me, it's something very emotional to watch him. There's a little, maybe apocryphal story in which Saul Swimmer, after one of our Queen shows, realised that we weren't very keen, and he took Freddie out to an IMAX theatre in Washington, D.C. Didn't take us notice, only took Freddie, and showed him what it looked like. And he said, Freddie, look at this, this is 3 stories high. I'm going to have your face 5 stories high. It's going to be the most incredible things ever. Now, what Freddie said has been quoted, but I think it's a paraphrase. I think what actually Freddie said to this was, oh, fuck it, let's just go on with it. That's what I think. And that's what happened. So, I could give you lots of technical details, but I don't think you need them really. You can get them online and whatever. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we have Freddie Mercury, Roger Taylor, John Deacon, Brian May, live and dangerous in 1981, revisited. Enjoy.